Welcome to part 14 of our series, Secrets of Glessner House. Today, we are going to explore the mystery behind the Glessners' photograph of a building at Abingdon Abbey in England, which influenced the design of their house. In May of 1885, architect Henry Hobson Richardson came to Chicago and had his first meeting with the Glessners. This took place in their home on Washington Street. During their discussion in the library, Richardson noted a hand-colored photograph of an interesting stone building displayed on their mantel. Richardson asked the Glessners if they liked the building, and they responded yes, to which Richardson replied, quote, "Well, give it to me. I'll make that the keynote of your house," unquote. This inspiration was significant. The Glessners' home was to be modeled after a modest stone structure, unlike the homes of their wealthy neighbors, many of which were influenced by chateaus and manor houses. Richardson accompanied John Glessner in his carriage to see the building lot the Glessners had purchased at the southwest corner of Prairie Avenue and 18th Street. Even though he never got out of the carriage, Richardson quickly envisioned his plan for the house and how to incorporate the spirit of the Abingdon building. Here we see the 18th Street elevation of the house is completed. Similarities include the gable at right, set above the stable yard entrance at Abingdon, and above the coach house entrance at Glessner House. The wood railing in front of the opening above the doorway at Abingdon is mimicked by the recessed porch over the servants' entrance on the Glessners' house. More importantly, the overall feel of the buildings, including the slope of the roof and the strong horizontal lines, are clearly in alignment. Abingdon is a historic market town on the River Thames, located 8 miles south of Oxford. The red arrow marks the location of our building of interest. In this early 18th century strip map, you can see that the distance from London, shown at lower left, and Abingdon, shown at upper right, was about 50 miles. This is our subject building as it appears today. In writings about the Glessner House, it has often been called a tithe barn, but this is incorrect. Built in 2 sections, it is believed to have been built as a fulling mill, with the later addition of a stable. The building would have been virtually unknown outside of Abingdon, making the Glessners' photo even more mysterious, especially since they never visited England. In this view from above, we can see the building hugging the narrow mill stream. The southern wall of the building was constructed over this waterway. The building is situated on Abbey Close, the narrow road that passes over the stream. This aerial view shows its proximity to surrounding buildings, including, most significantly, the large Glessner house in the foreground, a portion of which is visible in the Glessners photograph. Glessner is the anglicized version of the French word cuisinier, which means cook. The Glessners' house was built for the person responsible for the provision of food. Abingdon Abbey was founded in the year 675 AD for 12 Benedictine monks. The church, known as St. Mary's, was constructed of wood. That building was destroyed in the late 9th century when the Danes invaded England. The town fell into decline until 954 when Athelwold was appointed abbot. He started an active building campaign. His largest civil engineering project was the construction of the mill stream that paralleled the River Thames, its purpose to power a series of mills. Our building is seen on the left. This 1780 illustration of the mill stream is the earliest known image of our building, which is shown at the right. The first mention of a fulling mill at Abingdon dates to the early 15th century, and this building, with its left section built over the river, a culvert running underneath, and the recent discovery of stone troughs all support its original use as the fulling mill. In this detail of the same illustration, you will also see that the building ended with the chimney on the right. The other portion of the building we saw earlier was a much later addition, probably built in the early 19th century when construction of the Abingdon Lock and the Wilts and Berks Canal brought renewed prosperity to the town. Fulling refers to the process of cleaning, shrinking, and felting cloth by heat, pressure, and moisture. The production of cloth was an important industry in Abingdon. Athelwold oversaw the construction of numerous buildings, including the new church. Although no images survive, written descriptions indicate it was similar in appearance to Wells Cathedral, shown here. The church and monastery survived until 1538, when the last abbot surrendered them during King Henry VIII's dissolution of the monasteries. The church building was disassembled and the stone reused. The building was huge. In this image, the photographer is standing near the site of the altar. The white statue of Queen Victoria in the distance marks the location of the front entrance. No portion of the church survives today. Visitors mistake these ruins for part of that building. However, this structure, known as Trendle's Folly, was not constructed until the early 20th century. Several original buildings do survive, however, including the Abbey Exchequer, shown at right, and the Long Gallery. The Tithe Barn, the identity often misappropriated to the building in the Glessners photograph, also still survives and now houses Christ Church. John Ruskin, England's leading art critic of the 19th century, maintained rooms at the Crown and Thistle Inn in Abingdon for several years in the early 1870s, while lecturing at Oxford. He favored conservation of historic buildings over the more intrusive restoration, which was favored at the time, and found the untouched condition of Abingdon's medieval buildings most satisfactory. The Glessners owned several of Ruskin's books, the only very loose possible explanation for their owning a photograph of an Abingdon building. This view of that building, looking from the mill stream, was taken about 1890. The red arrow shows the subtle dividing line between the roofing materials used on the original fulling mill and the later addition. This division is also clearly visible looking at the rear of the building, where you can see the roofs are on two different planes. This view of the front shows old and new, the fulling mill to the left of the red line, and the stable entrance and stables to the right. The building is maintained in excellent condition and today serves as an ancillary structure for the Glessner House across the stream, which operates as a retreat and conference center maintained by the Science and Facilities Technology Council. To end, we return briefly to the Glessners. Their photo of Abingdon was returned to them after Richardson's death, with the addition of 2 ink spots in the lower left corner. They displayed the photo in their new library, hanging it on the side of the bookcase to the left of the room's entrance. A copy of the photo hangs there today, its location recalled by their granddaughter, Martha Batchelder, and confirmed when the original nail hole was found there. The current photo is a copy because the original, which might have revealed clues as to its origin, has long since disappeared, possibly left in the house when it was given to Armour Institute in the 1930s. Fortunately, John Glessner had it photographed for inclusion in his book, The Story of a House, published in 1923. We may never know how or why the Glessners came to acquire their photo from Abingdon Abbey. It will remain one of the world's greatest mysteries, along with the identity of Jack the Ripper and the existence of the Loch Ness Monster. This concludes our look at the Abingdon Abbey photograph. Tune in next time when another secret will be revealed.